See you then, Jason. In the meantime, Cleveland City Council passing legislation to change the city's laws over tobacco and smoke shops. 19 Data journalist Jeff Slauson with the changes passed tonight.
4 different changes, sweeping changes really. This is tobacco and smoke shops. City of Cleveland believes there's too many, they're not regulated enough, and something absolutely needs to change. So let's get into each individual part of this as we, of course, will see these changes start to roll out progressively. They are effective today, but yeah, there is an expectation these companies are going to have to get a handle on this now. So let's get to it. 4 pieces, as I mentioned, of legislation. Retail licenses for sales. This is a biggie. Each year, any sort of a company that wants to sell any sort of tobacco is a smoke shop. You're going to have to submit and get a license in order to do so. That license will also need to be renewed. You got to pay that to the city of Cleveland. This is to make sure that any smoke shops, any tobacco sellers are legitimate smoke shops and tobacco sellers. So it's a regulated product, only going to those that are of age, 18 or older for tobacco. Now we get on to the limit on locations. This is a biggie here. 2 locations are now not going to be allowed to be within 2 miles of each other. In addition to that, they're not going to be allowed to be within the same building of each other, not going to be allowed to be within the same area of a public library, a school, things like that. That is to limit overexposure of the market, right? So you're having too many in one location. But in addition to that, to limit how many are in an area of a targeted population like the youth that really could be at a disadvantage, not knowing what they're putting in their body as much as an adult. They're getting targeted, they're consuming tobacco. That's what the city of Cleveland is trying to limit. A limit on window signage. This is big here. Now they're going to be limiting only signs can cover 25% of all windows. That's to be less enticing to consumers as well. The last 2 parts here that I want to hit on. This is an illegal store crackdown and an illegal sale crackdown. Illegal stores have become a massive problem. Basically, tobacco sellers with no regulation. And now City Council wants to make sure that all of this will be followed and regulated.
And this is a real problem, as far as the lack of real enforcement to all of these illegally operating cannabis shops. No one is doing any enforcement. It's a real problem.
So enforcement is going to be done in one of 2 ways. One, if you live around the neighborhood, you see an illegal tobacco shop, you call to report it. That reporting system then would allow for officials to go into that shop and investigate. And second, every certified tobacco shop within the city of Cleveland, twice a year, randomly will be checked. They won't know when it's coming. They're going to be checked to make sure they are in compliance. And if they're not, there is a potential they could see some pretty tough ramifications. All of this in effect right now. Massive tobacco and smoke shop changes in the city of Cleveland.
All right, Jeff, thanks a lot. New video tonight of police arresting a man accused of a disturbing crime, and we want to warn you.